Good Sunday evening, high school sports fans. Joe Gilloway with Lingelstown Gazette Sports live from the Orchard Street studio. And this is our High School Hoops weekly recap show. I'll be joined momentarily by our panel of experts along with our special opening guest as soon as we're done thanking those responsible for bringing you tonight's show, our Lingelstown Gazette Sports Platinum sponsors. And they are Rickabah's Electric, Payer Apparel, American Legion Post 272, Sam Hartley Decking, Modern Imprint, Hoffman Ford, Ted's Bar and Grill, The Tire Mart, Freedom Financial Wealth Management, Capital Region Insurance Agency, Tonino's Pizza, Team PA, AAU Basketball, Underdog Sports Bar and Grill, and Crystal Bob at Howard Hanna Real Estate. Thank you to these great local businesses for their continued support of Lingelstown Gazette Sports and our area student athletes. Upcoming on Gazette Sports Chat, this coming Thursday, we have a girls wrestling show. Four of the top girls wrestlers in the Mid-Penn, outside in the District 3, actually. We have Callie Bauer from Mechanicsburg, Eva Cruz Germain from Central Dauphin East, Alicia Hidalgo from Camp Hill, and Kylie Trossel from Elko. Then a week from tomorrow, Monday the 10th, we have four girls basketball players coming on. Ashley Berkheimer from Trinity, Jess Hallbaker from State College, Sam Sembrot from Central Dauphin, and Macy Yanoski from Mechanicsburg, four of the top girls basketball players in the area. And then a boys basketball show. We're going to do this Saturday the 15th, 2 Saturdays from now. Elijah Cooper from Central Dauphin East, Tristan Crawford Jr. from Steel High, Khalif Turner from Milton Hershey, and Cam Sweeney from Hershey. Next Saturday, this show, which is almost always on Sunday night, we're going to move it back to Saturday because of the Super Bowl, and we're going to do it at 6 o'clock, same time, but a day sooner. And then here's something that I'm pretty excited about. We're going to bring on some unified bocce athletes. And for those who are unfamiliar, unaware of what unified bocce is, it's not a PIAA sanctioned sport as far as I know. I'm not sure about that. But there are some wonderful athletes that take part in that. Half the roster is intellectually disabled athletes, and the other half are those that aren't intellectually disabled. And they just come together and form these rosters, and they play their sport bocce side by side. And I'm only going to say one more thing about it. I have a friend that coaches the Cumberland Valley team. His name is Shane Griffiths. And he said that the first year that they put this team together, they were taking a trip up to Mifflin County, the Cumberland Valley team. And the one girl's mother said to Coach Griffiths, my buddy, afterwards said, we never imagined that we would have the opportunity to see our daughter travel out of town to play a sport on our high school team. And if that's not what it's all about, and I'm sorry, I can't tell that story without getting a little bit kind of welled up here. So anyway, unified bocce, we're still looking for the guests and the date, but we're very excited to be able to display that sport and some of those kids. So let's move on here. Tonight's opening guest is in his 36th season as a boys high school basketball head coach, the last 14 as the only coach in the history of the Berks Catholic program. Collectively, his teams have amassed a total of 830 wins, which include 8 Berks County titles, 14 District 3 titles, 4 state championship game appearances, one of which resulted in a highly coveted PIAA state championship game victory. His 2024-2025 Saints team currently sit at 16-3 overall and 9-2 in the Berks County 1 League. They're in the midst of an 8-game winning streak and are poised for another successful postseason run. It's with great pleasure and appreciation that we welcome Berks Catholic head coach Snip Esterly. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're excited, man. We've been talking about contacting you all year long, and we have a lot of friends that are coaches in the area, and I just said, you know what, we got to go outside of the Mid-Penn at least once or twice this year, and that's why we have you here, because we respect the heck out of you. I'm going to ask just a question or two, and then we're going to kind of take turns here, to kind of team up on the interview. That's what we do.
That sounds good.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: let's talk about Berks Catholic first, because I don't think people remember or understand how Berks Catholic was formed. I mean, really, you've in a way, you've been at the same school for 36 years. I mean, Berks Catholic was a merger of Reading Central Catholic, where you coached for 22 seasons. Great program there. I remember I was following Steel High back then, and you guys kind of had some matchups with Steel High. But it was a merger of Reading Central Catholic and Holy Name after the 2010-2011 school year. Talk about how that went down, the merger and how you became, one coach had to stay and one had to go, basically. And you were the one that stayed on to coach Berks Catholic.
Well, yeah, those were trying times. The first couple of years were tough. Mostly not for the students as it was for everybody involved on both sides of the merger. I mean, you had your diehard in the Holy Name Blue Jays, and you had your diehard Reading Central Catholic people. And the first couple of years, we were lucky. We had Holy Name had a pretty good team that year. Merging with them, it just was unbelievable, and everybody with open arms on the team. We had no problems at all. I can't say that about all the teams there, but we had no problems whatsoever. How we got there is I actually thought about resigning. I was going to be retired, and because it was going to be either myself or Tony. Tony Ballestera.
Yeah, from Holy Name.
Yeah.
And 22 seasons, sorry to interrupt. That's like a career already. you had in, right?
And it was he became principal. So the choice was, it was just, that made it easy for me. I mean, when I heard he was going to become principal, I said, and then I'm going to go for it. And then I just got a call one day and said, hey, you're in. And, it's been unbelievable. I mean, 13, 14 years now. Where's time going, man?
Man. And you won a lot of games there. You won a lot of games here. I looked at it. I kind of brought out my calculator. You've averaged 24 wins a season for 36 seasons. That's incredible. That's the only way. John and I were texted earlier about, these coaches that it was a win at a time. It was a game at a time. I know that, but you have to win a lot of games per season to get up to 830 wins. Yeah,
I'm really fortunate. We've had some great teams. So high school teams, and I don't know how it keeps going year in year out, but we've had some. I can't say enough about our assistants over the years. As you know, is all my assistants are usually ex-players, because I believe they know what I like and what our philosophy is, and it's just and we have great kids that just love to play together. We've had our really outstanding all county players, district players, but the guys that surround them, they get along so great, and that's been our philosophy is you got to got guys that respect each other and play together hard.
I love that. Coach Saver, cool.
Yeah, I guess I want to talk about Berks County as a whole, Berks County basketball. I had a little taste in Berks County for 2 years at Tolbucken, and started in the Mid-Penn, went to Tolpe, and then back to the Mid-Penn. Berks is just, they love their basketball countywide. I think the conference tournament is phenomenal with how they have this set up. How do you feel with going to 4 divisions recently? Are you a 4-division fan? Did you like it, the 3-division setup? I know when they went to 4, you moved up to Berks 1, which changes a lot of your scheduling. What do you think of that whole setup?
We every 2 years we can determine if we want to go up to Division 1 or stay Division 2. And this past, I thought we had the team to compete, so we decided to go up to Division 1. And like you said, over the years, I'm like, it was pretty neat when there was only 3, because we didn't play Reading High and Wilson. Well, we played Wilson once, but we didn't play them twice, and we didn't play Reading High. So it was always that anticipation of playing Reading High in the playoffs, or even maybe in the county final. But now we've already played them twice. We played Governor Mifflin twice. We played Wilson twice, Muhlenberg twice. So it's it's any of the 4 of those teams that I mentioned can win the county. It's who's ever going to win, who's ever going to have that 3-game really, who's hot at the right time.
Yeah, we know that to be true just from going down and watching the games. Go ahead, Coach.
And I really like how, the Berks County, the committee, whatever chairperson is for basketball, they, for lack of better words, they really don't care what other people think about the seeding. They just want to get the best seeding possible for the best tournament possible, which is what I like. It's not really like a paper cut black and dry, because they have that whole appeal process and challenge process for seeding, which I think is phenomenal, because ultimately the goal is to have the two best teams play in the championship. And I think that is a really crafty way of avoiding having the championship game take place in the semis.
Well, I think this upcoming Thursday, it's going to be an interesting meeting because, as you know, they do the 1 through 8 seedings by power rankings. All right. Mm-hmm. And you're allowed to challenge. So everybody's knocking off each other. I don't know what's going to happen Thursday night, but I think I can sit back and kick, just enjoy what's going to happen, because I think we're ranked number 1 right now. Because
you are.
Wilson's
easily.
like 3rd, and they have, so we wrapped up the division, but everybody else, it's not done yet. I mean, I think Muhlenberg plays Wilson, and Mifflin plays Reading High. So the winner of those two, I think, gets in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So
I'm ready to go now. I'm ready to go down to this tournament now. John, how about it? You want to go down again?
I wish I could go to one of those games on Tuesday.
How about John Velios? What do you got for Coach Esterly?
Coach, I've been following your career for the last few years. I didn't know, obviously you've had a long, career, and you just celebrated last January your 800th win. Congratulations. So, you joined a club that's, very elite. And we were actually looking at it online today at the Max Preps. And I think, you're in the top 130 coaches all time, maybe in the United States that at that number.
That's ridiculous. That's really good.
Right. Yeah. But, you've been doing this so long and successfully, I want to know what keeps you going. And as the first part, what keeps you doing it? And then also, how do you balance your family life and coaching life, throughout all these years, and what keeps you going to do it?
It's easy now. If you know me, I have an unbelievable passion for the game. If you've seen, I've been told that I get a little too animated, and I know that.
That's what part of the reason we like
heard
watching
that.
You. Yeah.
We've seen it.
We love it.
There's actually people that came up to me and said, "I just paid to come to see you." Well, I don't really want to go there because what's great about my assistant coach now, Jason. He goes, "Coach, enough," and he keeps me really mellow. But as far as I can only thank my coworkers and my family, because without those, I couldn't have never been coaching this long. Especially my coworkers, they let me get out work when I can, because girls have, if they have a game, I have to go after school. But we have mostly night games, night practices. But as far as my wife and my 2 kids, I try. The only time I really missed my kids playing sports would be during basketball, which they played basketball. But I tried to, their schedule and ours, because Lancaster County, I got to see a lot of their games because they were on off nights, and I would try to hold practices so I could go see them play. I never missed my daughter's soccer games or field hockey, and my son's baseball. So, and I without my wife, as you know, there's no way possible. She's been absolutely unbelievable in all of this.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach.
Coach, I know that you also like another sport, like a great deal, baseball, right?
I love baseball.
A couple of years ago, John and I were going down to watch you coach, or watch the Berks County game down at Santander tournament. And I was going to try to get an interview with you, and I just ended up, it didn't fit into your, to what you were doing.
I remember that. Coach Kelsey tried
yes,
to
exactly. I was down there, I was ready, but you guys, it just didn't fit in. I know when somebody's doing their coaching thing, but I kind of brushed up, and I looked at some videos, and you were talking about baseball. Tell us what you like about baseball.
I don't know. Ever since I was a young kid, I just loved to play it. I played it all the time. It's just, I don't know what it is. It's, my favorite team ever since I was like 9, 10 was the Phillies. And I always loved the Phillies, and I still love the Phillies. They're number one, besides Penn State. football and Phillies are my two favorite teams. And I don't know what to tell you about, but I just have a passion for baseball as well.
Yeah, you just know what you like, and sometimes it's not. You can't define it or explain it. But yeah, it's a totally different sport than a game than basketball. You know.
Oh,
But,
absolutely.
I love them both too. Coach Saver, cool.
I mean, obviously, you mentioned earlier, former players come back. They help coach with you. I mean, that's awesome. It's like the circle of life in coaching, that you get to have them come back. And that was, I mean, that's a great accolade for you. Coaching 36 years, you've been a mentor to a lot of coaches in Berks County and beyond. Who have you kind of discussed and spitballed with and discussed basketball with growing up in your coaching career? Like, who was your mentor growing up when you first got into it? Maybe even
I would not be coaching to this day if it wasn't for, you guys know him, Reggie Weiss. I mean, he's a Bishop McDevitt guy, and then he went on to Shippensburg and became an All-American. And then I think he was with Marty Bektovic at Steel High for like maybe 3-4 years before he came to Wilson. And I was I think I was in 7th grade when Reg came to Wilson, and I was part of his program since 7th grade. And then just one day, he came over to my house. I came home from work, and my mom said, Coach Reggie's coming over. And I had no clue why he was coming over, and here he was going to take the Reading Central Catholic job, and he wanted me to help. And the rest is history. Without him, I would have never began coaching.
Have you ever crossed? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, he obviously, I think he saw a passion as a young kid when he coached me. We always used to go to this playground. It was a brand new playground in West Lawn which was great. I don't think it would ever happen, but I only lived 4 blocks away, and I could walk there drilling basketball every day. And Reg would have summer camps like for the Wilson kids, and everybody would ride their bikes from all the communities, and he did it free from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock. He would do nothing but fundamentals for that first hour, and then we would pick up games from 7th grade to I'd say about 9th graders. And then we would pick up teams. And for that week, whoever won that week, he would take us to Sammy Steaks for a treat. And then the following week, we would pick up different teams. And that went on all summer long. So that's where I got all my fundamentals from.
That's great.
Just watching them. And then at nighttime, everybody from the whole community, not even just Wilson, all the schools came out, and that was the place to be. I mean, if you lost a game, you weren't getting on that night. And all I did was I was a 7th grader, and I just sat there watching this, and I was like, oh God, this is unbelievable.
Did you play? Were you a basketball player?
Yeah, Reg's last year I was a junior.
Okay.
I was a junior, and that was his last year. And then he resigned, and then Coach John Silent came in, and things just didn't go well with me and him. So
yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
So I'm going to throw out a name that I don't know if you have any dealings with him, if you coached against him. I think you may have. Rick Binder.
Oh yeah.
Coach Binder from Steel
Absolutely.
High. Well, he played for Reading.
Fantastic basketball mind.
Oh man,
Unbelievable.
He's a friend of mine. I couldn't help but throw his name out because he's from Berks County. It's where he grew up, and
great guy,
played,
great guy.
and they ended up coaching, and so
quite the character.
Yeah,
he would in the beginning of the game, it was like. By the end of the game, it was like his shirt was out. It was like everything.
That's what he's famous for.
Yeah,
he really is famous for that. This is kind of a canned question, but it ends up to be an interesting question. I always say you've had 36 teams now, and every one of them were kind of different in their own way. They all had their own thumbprint, their own makeup or personality. Talk about the personality of this year's team.
It starts with, we have a player named Kingston McCoy. He's the best player in Berks County by far, and probably one of the top players in the district. He's a junior. The reason you don't really hear about him so much is because last year he had a terrible, he broke his leg just going out for a basket. He fractured his tibia and fibula. And at the time we were like 14, 15-0. And without him, we really struggled. what a great character that young man is. In the summertime, this past summer, he had our kids in there at 6 o'clock in the morning, working them out.
Your player did. Is that what you're
Kingston,
saying?
yeah.
It was him that was getting the rest of your
Yeah.
team in there.
He
Wow.
well, the football players couldn't come in because they were practicing, but he had I bet you about 5 to 7 kids coming in that gym working out for 2 hours. He's still doing that. Before school, he either comes in there, shoots, or he goes to the gym and works out, and then goes to school.
Wow.
Yeah, there's
He's
not many.
He's getting really good looks now. Penn State was looking at him. Villanova was up to see him. Lafayette's now, and now Drexel's got. It's just starting because, like I said, he didn't start playing in the summer till like mid-July because of he had to take rehab, and we took it really slow with him. That guy I know that owns Wyomissing physical therapy said, Snip, just make sure you take it really slow with him when he comes back, and we did. He only played not even a half a game during the summer time until we knew he was okay to go.
Well, we got to come watch him play.
No,
Coach,
he's
they were cool.
I'm good.
Okay,
Coach,
John.
Coach, you've formed a lot of close relationships with a lot of your players over the years. I'm sure. I know Joe had mentioned earlier we had to come down to see you at the Santander Center playing before, and Joe will remember this. One of your star players made a mistake.
Best player of the team, the guard.
And you took him right out of the game and got right in his face, and he was totally respectful, totally listened to what you had to say, and sat down like a utmost professional. And how do you form these relationships with these kids? And you each have respect for each other like that. I mean, it was just amazing to watch. Honestly,
it's like 3 or 4 years ago. It was your best guard.
It was JJ.
Absolutely,
I remember
that's who it was.
Yeah. What a super kid, and he's having a fantastic career at Slippery Rock in football.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah. He was wide receiver or running back.
I think he's like he runs back kickoffs and stuff, things like that. Super kid, great athlete, and these kids, everybody sees me yelling at these kids, but they don't see practice. They don't see practice where we're getting along so fine. I treat them just like I would my kids, and they know that. They know that. They know I love them, and that's why so many kids come back, to our open gyms all the time. And we have a great tradition at Thanksgiving that was started a few years ago, that all our guys come back before Thanksgiving dinner, and we play games. We play like for an hour and a half, 2 hours in the gym, and we get like 50 kids back. So it's kind of neat. But
Coach, I knew that.
Thank God I wasn't stupid enough to keep him out, because he did have the game-winning.
Oh no, you put him right back in, and he was he was the player of the game. And I said to John even, we watched the whole thing, and I said, you want to know why or how Coach Esterly is able to use that method to get his point across? And I said, because that player knows that he loves them.
Yeah, and I really like what you said there, Coach, because us as fans and the fans out there in the seats and stuff, they don't see what's going on behind closed doors. They just see what's on the court, like you said, and that gets overlooked a lot. And like, he knows the love you had for him. You know the love you have for him. So I'm glad you shared that with us, because a lot of us don't know that.
Right.
I was just disappointed this year that I didn't get to see him play, because the opportunity just didn't have it. But Slippery Rock, as you know, had a great season, and JJ had a fantastic year. And when he came back at Thanksgiving, I said, "Man, way to go, buddy!" It was neat. It was neat.
That's what you call a gifted athlete.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
JJ, just a gifted athlete. What he was able to do, kind of with his body, and how much better he looked than everybody else at athleticism.
We don't win 2 district championships without him.
Right.
I mean, the two teams we beat, Middletown, and they were fantastic teams, and we beat them by 20, which was unbelievable.
Right.
I never would have thought that could have happened, especially the Middletown team. They were fantastic. And we just, I don't know what it is about the Giants Center, but our kids seem to step up a notch.
And that's the opposite of what happens to a lot of teams.
Yeah.
You probably know that. Okay, we're going to let you go after this one. I have to ask you this. Why Snip? Where did you get the name? I don't think that's on your birth certificate, is it?
No. Believe it or not, when I was like 2-3 years old, and my next door neighbor for some reason, I must have been a pain in the rear end. And he just said, he nicknamed me Snip or something. And I guess it really fits. and it just stuck. There's people that don't even know my real name. And
We don't. We want to hear it.
it's Kenneth.
Okay.
I knew only from
There's
doing
people
research.
that called my workplace, like when I first started, like my first 5-10 years at the hospital where I worked in Lancaster, said, "Can I talk to Snip?" He goes,
That's great.
I'd explain to people, it was like I felt like I had two personalities.
Yes, there was Kenneth and there was Snip.
Yeah.
Oh, Coach, thank you so much. This
I
has been a
appreciate
blast,
it. It's
man.
great talking to you guys.
We appreciate you taking time. We know you're busy, and we're going to get down, John. Let's promise them now. We'll go down and watch some of that Berks tie.
Yeah, make sure you say hello. Make sure you
make it. Yeah, we'll try to come down as a group, have some dinner, and hang out for a couple games.
That sounds great. Let
All
me
right,
know.
Coach.
All right, see you guys.
We wish you well the rest of the season.
Thank you.
Thanks,
care.
Coach.
All
Good luck.
Bye-bye.
Man, what an awesome dude. I like that guy.
Let's see here. We got to. All right. That was awesome. We kind of been wanting to do that for years, huh, John?
Yeah.
He remembers that I wanted to interview him maybe 3 or 4 years ago because
I could ask him questions all night long, man.
I know. Yeah, that was fun. So let's start with some housekeeping here. I know we usually start with games, like our games of the week or whatever. How much better, guys? And this is just all for individual, and I don't even know if it's important. I found this interesting. Middletown is 12-1 in the Mid-Penn Colonial Division. Okay, Milton Hershey is 9-4 in the Mid-Penn Keystone Division. Middletown's the top team in the Colonial. Milton Hershey, I think, is the third best team or record-wise. Central Dauphin East is 2-11 in the Mid-Penn Commonwealth Division. They're the 7th place out of 8 teams. East beat Middletown by 11 and Milton Hershey by 7. How much stronger is the Commonwealth Division than any of the other 3? Let's say top to bottom. What do you think, Ty?
I mean, I just think the Commonwealth is always deeper than the other divisions. I think the Keystone, especially this year, is very top heavy. The Capital even very top heavy as well. I would even challenge the Capital is probably a little deeper than the Keystone. The Colonial is normally significantly top heavy. There's normally a very significant drop off. Even sometimes
Waynesboro and maybe somebody else, but yeah.
So yeah, I mean generally, but Commonwealth is also larger schools. So
that's right. That's right.
In that respect, they should be deeper.
I agree.
From a larger pool of kids.
I agree. I totally agree. John?
Yeah, I mean,
we're not here to put anybody down. I mean, I think the world of Hershey, Mechanicsburg. I think the world of Trinity's got a strong team. So that's not. Yeah, I mean,
that's traditionally that's how it's been. I mean, forever. I mean, the Commonwealth is 6A teams for and usually 75% of them would beat any of the other teams in any of the other division. But, the Keystone's always had a couple teams that could compete out of, say, 8. The Capital and the Colonial might have 1 or 2 yearly that could compete. But, it's just, I don't even know if it's even a fair comparison, No,
I get that. I get that. It's just that's why it's under housekeeping. I mean, it's just kind of a tidbit, just something to throw out there. Because it's not like East is even like the 4th or 5th best team in that division, the Commonwealth. They're very close. They lost to 2-18 Altoona. So we don't have to get into that too much. I just found that interesting. How about this Mechanicsburg, who's moved up to 6A? They're 16-1. They have 4 wins against 6A teams.
You're talking about girls?
Boys. No, we're talking about boys.
They only have 1 loss?
16, don't they? They lost to Hershey, right? Wait a second. 16-1. Oh, no. Yeah. I think the only other losses, they're 16-1. Their only other losses were up there in that New York holiday tournament.
Oh, yeah. Well,
so follow me here. I'm going to go down a path like I did with the last one. 4 of their wins are against 6A teams. Okay. Those 6A teams that they beat are Central Dauphin East, who is 6-15, Mifflin County, who's 8-10, and they beat Cedar Cliff twice. Cedar Cliff's 3-18. Of those 16 wins, I would say 3 were kind of quality wins against 5A teams. Hershey once, Milton Hershey twice. Do you guys think that with respect to, and I have to start with respect to Mike Gaffey and some of the kids that we know and have had on the team, you think Mechanicsburg might be fool's gold this year, having to move up and play in 6A? Coach Savercool?
Yeah, I mean, that's truthfully the team. It's a lot of seniors, majority seniors. Mechanicsburg. So you've known this, and a lot of them have been playing when they varsity when they were sophomores, if not freshmen. So, you kind of have to have that on your radar as a coach when you're scheduling, and you have to have a good non-conference schedule. You don't control your conference games, but knowing that the Keystone isn't as strong, and you're 6A playing in a majority 5A division, it's not a good job scheduling his non-conference. He should have loaded up on as many Commonwealth teams as that said yes. That should have been the ask. I mean, that's what we attempted at Cedar Cliff when we were really good. I mean, we would play Chambersburg, Central Dauphin, all of those teams, and we would do our best to play Commonwealth teams,
Right.
or at the very least 6A teams, Central York, teams like that. So yeah, I mean, just not great foresight there in scheduling because it's not going to prepare them for playoffs.
I think the girls at Mechanicsburg girls might be in the same situation. They're 20-0, and they're playing out of a less than commendable Keystone division. It's probably the poorest Keystone division we've seen in years. And they play against, again, mostly 5A teams. Coach Clay McAllister does a fabulous job there, and he's got some good players. But I'm kind of very interested to see how they make out playing in 6A, with Lebanon and there's a handful of really good teams in 6A. So
I see your question, Joe. I mean, you're saying Mechanicsburg's ranked second in the power rankings in 6A District 3, ahead of Cumberland Valley, ahead of Central Dauphin, ahead of Wilson.
Right.
Are they truly better than those
Chambersburg?
Chambersburg? Are they truly better than those 3-4 teams? We don't know that. Those teams are playing out of the tough Commonwealth division, and Wilson's playing out of the tough Berks League. So, I mean, obviously, we're going to find out here come district playoffs.
I think they're going to get a win because they're going to play like Conestoga Valley or somebody like that. But even that second game, and Ty, this. Ty was, for those who don't know, viewers, the head coach at Cedar Cliff, and you had some really good teams and had some really big wins and played some really tough competition. The rubber kind of meets the road in that second round, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It can meet the road in the first round, but talk about once you get into the second round and beyond.
I mean, yeah, when you get into the second round, you're talking division champs, potentially conference champs. I think the year that we played Muhlenberg, and we won the Mid-Pens, and then played Muhlenberg, who was a phenomenal 12 seed, had just beat Reading High like a week prior, and then played Hempfield, who I believe won the LL League that year or lost in the championship. So, I mean, then the next round was Reading High, so that each round you advance in 6A, it's a gauntlet. And that's where you really try and schedule 4 or 5 paper losses on your schedule every year, every team.
Hey, Coach, sorry to interrupt you, but you almost beat Reading High that year, right?
We lost by maybe 5 days.
Yeah, it was close.
And they went on to win the state championship.
Yeah, I think that year, 2022.
Yeah. You had a knack. You had a knack as a coach, and your teams had a knack for playing very well against some really good competition. I will say that.
Helps have good players.
Yeah, you had
good players for sure.
Yeah, it's no secret that it takes good players to win those games. Okay, so let's move on to Big Spring. Okay, why are we talking about Big Spring? They're defending district runners-up. Ben Bardo said Mechanicsburg played very tough New York teams in that tournament. Yeah, Ben, I figured that. I'd thank you for the comment, and that's why I said we're not putting them down at all. It's what we talk about. It's what we talk about, and thank you though. Big Spring. Why are we talking about Big Spring? They were the District 3 Class 5A runners-up last year. We've had their coach on, Jason Creek. We had Aiden Sally on the show just a week or so ago. So we kind of, we're friends of theirs right now, I guess. And something interesting, they lost 4 of 5, did Big Spring, from December 17th through January 10th. Since then, they've won 7 of 8 and 5 straight, winning by big margins. So they did get 6'4" senior Brexton Heckendorn back. And I remember Coach Creek did tell me when the night that I watched them lose to McDevitt about a month ago, he's like, we're really hurting without our big. Aiden Sally's 6'3". He's a big kid, but you can't ask him to score 25 points a night, which is what he averages, and get 8 to 12 rebounds. And they were missing Heckendorn, and he's back, and he returned at the very beginning of this stretch. Okay, the 8 games that they won 7 out of 8, he returned the first game of that stretch. So it's no mystery why they're doing a lot better. So I just wanted to kind of shout them out because they were kind of trending in a poor direction, and now they're trending in a great direction. And they have players that are just playing well right now. Both of the Sallys and Heckendorn and others that I'm not going to mention because I don't know them all. But so we wish Coach Creek and his guys well and good luck. And the last thing I wanted to kind of address is I'm kind of looking at these power rankings, and I just kind of wonder, and this is something that I'm going to maybe get another comment about, like Ben Bardo made a comment about Mechanicsburg, and we thank Ben again for chiming in there. Why is Trinity in 3A? It's beyond me. And
they moved up to 4A for 2 years and dropped back down to 3A.
I thought they did. I wasn't sure though.
They didn't have any success when they were up at 4A either. But
it just kind of miffs me. And Coach Kostelak's a great coach, but he just gets such great players in there. And here's the other teams that are in 4A or 3A. I'm talking. First of all, Trinity has 220 boys in 9th through 11th grade. In order of how many boys are in all the other programs, schools, Peckway Valley has 195, Lancaster Catholic 191, Columbia 188, Kutztown 185, Brandywine Heights 183, Antietam 171, Camp Hill 169, Halifax 165, Newport 139, and Lancaster Mennonite 83. So, I mean, not only do they build their teams differently than all of those other programs, and they're able to, except for Lancaster Mennonite, and they're able to do that. Okay, I'm not challenging that. They're also considerably bigger than most of those other programs. So I don't know. I just kind of feel like it would be a little more interesting for maybe the rest of us. I'm sure they don't really care what the rest of us think, but I'd like to see them play out of 4A. I just think it would be any interest in adding to this conversation, Coach Sabercool, or if you don't want to, that's fine too.
Yeah, I mean, I just think they want to. John, you may even know better than me. How many years in a row did they win the district title?
No, 10 years in a row.
In a row, and kind of it's one of those things where the whole saying is, if you're the best player on the playground, go find a new playground. Like that's that. Like I think they've proven they're the best player on that playground. So go find a new playground, which is that next step up.
Right.
And challenge yourself. And
yeah,
I mean that's what I believe.
We could see a Berks Catholic Trinity showdown, or at least at some point through the tournament, because
not this year, but you're saying you'd like to see it.
Yeah, that would be good.
Right.
Yeah. So all right, let's kind of jump into what we normally jump into before we start all this housekeeping stuff. Just some games of note, some games of interest. You guys can butt in. You guys can add to it if you want. This is from Monday through Saturday. Berks Catholic 62, Reading 59. It's a good win for Berks Catholic the way Reading's playing. That was on Monday. Central Dauphin 73, Harrisburg 66. I mentioned that because Harrisburg almost beat Central Dauphin a few weeks ago, and this game was close, 73. I think Central Dauphin, I think Coach Esterly was talking about the athleticism and how some teams are built different ways. I think Central Dauphin might kind of struggle with that, that in-your-face athletic approach. They don't have good shooters, Harrisburg. I watched them yesterday against Steel High. But so anyway, hats off to Harrisburg for not giving up. They're playing as hard as they can down the stretch. York, William Penn 60, Southwestern 50. The significance there is at that point, Monday, York had won 5 straight games and 9 of 10. So York's on fire, and they improved once they got back Nazir Barnes, once he became eligible. He's been with York Suburban, a prep school out of state. I believe it's an out of state prep school, and William Penn all in the last 6 months. So he's had 3 homes, high school basketball homes in 6 months. But he's Ty, you saw him yesterday, and he's helped York a lot. Big Spring 91, McDevitt 62. Aiden Sally breaks the Big Spring all-time school scoring record. So congratulations to Aiden Sally. We had him on the show earlier. I think it was the day after that, and we were able to talk to him about it. What a great kid. You told me about him, Ty, a couple of months ago. You said what a great kid he is, and he really is a young man at this point, let's call him. And McDevitt had beaten their butts pretty good, a month and a half ago. They beat him by like 22, and Big Spring returned the favor and beat McDevitt by 29 on Tuesday. Milton Hershey 65, Hershey 62. We kind of have like a group text that we do a couple nights a week, the 3 of us and Dave Berman, and that was a tough loss for Hershey. Probably lost them the Keystone Division because they were equal as terms of wins or losses. I'm sorry, losses, and they were ahead in the power rankings, and they were up like 6 or 8 with 4 minutes to go. And I think I texted you guys and said this game's over, and it wasn't over. So let's recognize Milton Hershey for not giving up and playing tough down the stretch there. Governor Mifflin 65, Wilson 59. That gave Berks Catholic sole possession of first place in the Berks 1 league. And I'm not mentioning this just because we had the Snip Esterly on. These are kind of the notes I took because I like to recognize some of those other schools outside.
Berks beat Wilson and Governor Mifflin this past week.
Yeah, great stretch of games. Yeah, they've won. I think what did I say, 8 straight, and like 5 of them were against pretty good teams too.
Right.
Mechanicsburg 64, Lower Dolphin 54, Trinity 101, Boiling Springs 93. I just mentioned that because that's kind of like a low-scoring NBA game. East High over Milton Hershey over Cedar Cliff on Wednesday. Reading beat Exeter Township, and that was 5 of 6 games for Reading. Wins for Reading. The only loss in that stretch was to Berks Catholic. Harrisburg beat Carlisle.
Big win for Harrisburg there, Joe.
I kind of like when teams don't give up. I mean, Ty, have you ever had any teams like that you really weren't heading anywhere significant, and you get 2/3 of the way through the season? You have to keep them motivated. You have to keep them buying in. What's that like for a coach?
Yeah, it's hard. It's challenging. Whenever the group that did really well for us in 2022, whenever they were freshmen, Charlie Werner was a freshman. He was our starting point guard. That team kind of fizzled out midseason. And as a coach, if you kind of have to have a vision of where you see your team in future years, so you have to start blending in those players that you see next year playing varsity minutes, along with respecting your current seniors. So it becomes a challenge because generally you dig a little deeper into your bench because you're trying to develop kids for that next season. So I'm sure Harrisburg's doing that same thing. They're playing some maybe younger, more raw sophomores that will be contributing next year as juniors. I mean, that's just planning for the future.
Yeah, I have friends, and you're one of them, but I have other friends who are coaches too, and I talk to them on a pretty regular basis, and they talk about you kind of become shrink, at a certain point where you're just trying to get them to understand that still winning games is important, So we had Mechanicsburg over Milton Hershey. That was the game that we looked ahead. And we said that, if Milton Hershey could knock Mechanicsburg off, it would kind of help her. It would definitely help Hershey. And Mechanicsburg beat them by 17. If Mechanicsburg beats Mifflin County this Tuesday, they go to the Mid-Penn tournament. Trinity over Steel High. Steel High is reeling. They've lost 9 of 12 after yesterday's loss to Harrisburg. Susquehanna Township over McDevitt. McDevitt has lost 5 of 6 So they're reeling as well. Here's something interesting. Northern York 54, Middletown 53. Middletown is the team that's going to win the Colonial and represent the Colonial in the Mid-Penn. But Northern York's 10-7, but they showed up. They showed up prepared, and the Northern York girls beat 18-0 Middletown girls. So that's a good night for Northern York basketball, Northern York athletics, and the AD over there is really happy about stuff like that. Reading 54, Wilson 52. Reading's kind of for real. I mean, we don't know if they could beat any of the real. Well, Wilson's one of the top teams, and they just beat them, so I better watch what I'm saying. 6'10" transfer Blake Adams. Now, why you might not know about Blake Adams is he doesn't score. Okay, remember we were looking for him against Central Dauphin. They beat Central Dauphin. He didn't. I don't know if he scored any.
He didn't play that game, Joe.
He didn't play that game at all.
No.
Because I showed that they're 6-1 since he came back. Okay. Or
maybe he did. I thought Berman said he didn't play.
I don't know. I'm not sure, but that wasn't even the point. The point is that he had against Exeter. Here's what he does for that team. He had 12 rebounds and 9 blocks.
Wow.
So that's where
he's contributing without scoring.
He's contributed without scoring. Yeah. And they're 6-1 are Reading since he came.
Are they alive for the playoffs still?
Oh, no doubt. They're actually. Let's see here. Yeah, they're very close. They're in.
There's 16.
They're in 20th place, and they're just outside of number 16. But what makes it tough for them is that the other 3 teams, there are 4 teams in front of them that 17 through 19 have.
Well, you guys remember just a couple years ago, only 12 teams were going from 6A.
Just until this year.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting. And, we're pretty close to exhausting our time here. I don't want to get into I keep saying next week we'll talk about the power rankings. Next week we'll talk about the power rankings. But I will say that,
Joe, do we have definitive champions of all 4?
That's where I'm going right now.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Mid-Penn. We know that Trinity is playing Middletown in the Colonial versus Capital game. We know that Cumberland Valley have East remaining. I'm going to say that they'll probably beat East. Central Dauphin has State College. So the only way that Central Dauphin has a chance there to represent the Commonwealth is if they beat State College and East High somehow finds a way to beat Cumberland Valley. And then Mechanicsburg, they have to beat Mifflin County. And then Hershey has Palmyra. So Hershey's job is to beat Palmyra and then cross their fingers. And so it's probably going to be Cumberland Valley against Mechanicsburg, and it's certainly going to be Trinity versus Middletown.
So at this moment, the Commonwealth looks like it's going to be Cumberland Valley.
Absolutely. Strong.
Keystone looks like it's going to be Mechanicsburg.
Another relatively strong supposition.
Capital is definitely going to be Trinity.
Yes.
And Colonial is definitely going to be Middletown.
Middletown came in first year, kicked butt in the Colonial division. They're two games ahead of Waynesboro, 3 games ahead of Northern York. So they did a really good job. Coach Chris Bradford and his Blue Raiders did a great job there first year in the Colonial division. Let's see if there's any, before we go, let's see if there's any surprises in the power rankings. It looks like, let's start with AA because we have no A schools in district in the Mid-Penn. Steel High is not going to make it. Another year where Steel High, they're 7-9 and they're significantly out of 4th place where they would have to get to. We have 2 Mid-Penn teams in AAA. Trinity's at number 1. They're going to stay at number 1 over Lancaster Mennonite. And then Halifax is 3rd. I would say one of those 3 teams would probably end up winning this. Wouldn't be shocked if Trinity and Mennonite play for the title. 4A, we have Big Spring, Susquehanna Township, Boiling Springs, and McDevitt. They're at 4, 5, 7, and 8 respectively. So they're all in the mix. McDevitt has to kind of watch, what they do here. They
only the top 8 are going this year in 4A.
Correct. And McDevitt's 8th, and
they're on the edge.
Hamburg's in striking distance. I will say that. 5A, we have loads of teams in 5A. Hershey's number 1, Middletown, Milton Hershey, Northern York are 7, 8, and 9. Then we got LD. Let's hope that they're able to hold on there. Coach Riccativo and his Falcons down there, they're not enough ahead of New Oxford, who's at 17, to kind of exhale yet, for sure. And then Palmyra is going to be like the first 5A team out. And it looks to be that way, unless a couple teams ahead of them collapse. And then in 6A, we have 2 through 5, Mechanicsburg, Cumberland Valley, Central Dauphin, and Chambersburg at 2 through 5, with Central York at number 1, where they belong. I kind of get, this isn't going out on a limb here, guys, but I kind of feel like if they end up on opposite sides of the bracket, I think the best 2 teams are Central York and Cumberland Valley. What do you think, Coach Sabercool? Who do you like as the best 2 teams there?
I mean, yeah, I think it's Central York for sure. I mean, you can't really argue it. They want to stay.
They're scoring like 85, 95 points a game, and
yeah, pretty much everyone's trying to avoid the 4 seed right now in the top half of 6A, because they want to try and not play Central York in the semifinals. They want to rather play them in the finals. So,
and that's Central Dauphin right now. They're the 4 seed.
Yeah, so that 1-4, that would be your semifinal if chalk holds, which never does. But everyone's you do try and jockey, and we're now at the time of year where you're looking at matchups and who you can potentially play and who's close and who can leapfrog who. So right now it's get out of the 4 seed, get out of the 8-9 seed, so you don't play Central York.
I was talking to our friend Randy Gambalungi, the Central Dauphin girls coach, yesterday, and it's a similar situation. And I'm not going to get into teams or anything like that at all. That's his business. And but he was talking about the same thing. It's kind of strange how sometimes you fight all year, you play all year for the highest seed you can get, and then you're in a position to get right where you wanted to be, and you go, uh-oh, and you look ahead, because you should, that's what part of what a coach does, is tries to figure out where he or she is going to, where things are going to fall for them. And like you just said, it wouldn't kill Central Dauphin you want to win out, but for Chambersburg to kind of leapfrog them, and they're close. They're really close. But you know what? You got to play the teams ahead of you. You know this again. And sometimes you end up beating a team that you thought like, oh man, this is not a good draw. This is not a great seed, and you end up beating those teams. Just because you play well and your players buy in. And so that's about it. That's the first we discussed power rankings at all. We'll probably get into that a little more next week. Coach Sabercool, you're off next week, right?
I am.
You are going to watch an ex-player, or is that?
Yep, Joey Zaworski. He's in his final season playing at Wilkes University. So they play at Susquehanna University next weekend.
You are, as Coach Esterly was talking about, you built relationships that are years later still there. Yep. And that's part of what people think. Coaches just walk around with clipboards and and put the kids in do wind sprints and all that stuff and draw up X's and O's. It's so much more than that. And at least the friends that I have that are coaches, I just really like the way that they have these relationships, and they care about these kids, these young men and women now. So anything else, guys? That was tidy. 53 minutes in. We had a great interview with Coach Snip Esterly, and we wish him well. And we covered a lot of stuff here, and we'll try to get next week, Saturday at 6. We're going to do this because of the Super Bowl. We'll try to get Christian Eby from Carlisle Sentinel, Cumberlink. He was going to join us tonight. Said he wasn't feeling well, or maybe bring in Dan Sostek or Jeff Morrow. We cannot replace Coach Ty Sabercool, but we'll do the best we can. I promise. John, thank you. Coach Sabercool, thank you. We'll text this week while some of these big games are going on, fellas.
All right.
Have
Thanks,
a good evening.
guys.
Take care.
See ya.
Bye-bye.